Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam udirayat nashprayesha badreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhavati nashtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopala Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalaka Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatade Shatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gautase Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna. This is English. So we welcome everyone for today morning Srimad Bhagavatam study, part of our Bhagavat Life program. We are on the third canto, volume 2 or the part 2, beginning with chapter number 17. So as part of our discussion today, we intend to cover 17, 18 and 19 chapters today, not verses. 17, 18 and 19 chapters. So what's going on in this chapter? I'll give you a little brief and then we'll get in some discussion in these chapters. So we concluded our previous discussion with how Brahmaji narrated the whole story of 4 Kumaras visiting Vaikuntha and the incident of cursing Jai and Vijay, and eventually Lord coming, Lord satisfying or pacifying 4 Kumaras recognizing they made a mistake by cursing Jai and Vijay, but nonetheless it was the will of the Lord that Jai and Vijay come to this world and then act as a demon so that the Lord's desire for Viryaras can be fulfilled. Many other things were discussed in the previous session, and like that, Brahmaji concluded 16th chapter saying that you cannot do anything. You and I, nobody can do against it. This is the will of the Lord. And will of the Lord will be the major theme for today's discussion. What is the will of the Lord? How do we understand the will of the Lord? Lord Shri Krishna says in 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Nimitta matram bhavya sabyasachi. Become an instrument of my grace, or act according to my will, in other words. So Srila Prabhupada, while giving a purport to these verses, says, how do we understand the will of the Lord? We understand the will of the Lord by following those who are serving the Lord. In other words, the will of the Lord or the will of the spiritual master is one and same. The whole idea, the concluding verses of the previous chapter, where Brahmaji said, please understand, put yourself in a situation where there's a great calamity is about to come to you, and you're told nothing can be done about it. That's okay, nothing can be done is okay, but then you're told further, this is the will of the Lord. How many will accept? And that too has been told to those who are for trying to follow and serve the same Supreme Personality Godhead. And now all this calamity has come because of His will. So when in 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Nimittamatram bhavasavesachi, it is at all time to understand what's the will of the Lord and to act. It is not only to understand the will of the Lord in the favorable time, but also in the unfavorable time. In the battlefield, you can say it was favorable for Arjuna to accept the will of the Lord because he has already seen Krishna have killed everyone in the Virat Rupa. But here Brahmaji told Devatas to accept the will of the Lord, which is going to be extremely unfavorable for them. So when things are in favor for us, we accept it. When things are against us, can we accept it? That makes the difference between who is an atheist or demoniac or who is a sura or who is a devotee. So as tatte nukampan samikshamano bhunjan evatmakritam vipakam, that verse goes on. A devotee does not shy away from accepting responsibility of his past sins, and whatever unfavorable happens, he understands that it's just because of my past sinful actions, which is coming as reactions now. So who is a devotee? Who is not only surrendered in good times, but is also surrendered in bad times. Now, how do we understand what is the will of the Lord? That would be a subject. We'll come to it. That's a very profound subject, which we don't have much knowledge of it, but there is some text written about it. We'll refer to that. So let's go back to this chapters 17, 18, 19. That was just kind of setting the scene of what has happened so far. In 17, 18, and 19, now 17th chapter, it talks about the birth of Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. So how birth happens? So that process of birth is also mentioned. Now they both were born as twins, Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu. So Prabhupada writes, and Prabhupada even quotes the scripture's name where it talks about this whole science of pregnancy. And he says, we'll read the purport later on, but nonetheless, we'll give you synopsis. We'll read those details when we refer to the verses like this. And then, what was the name of the mother? Huh? Diti. Kadu was? Yeah. So that becomes the wife of Hiranyakashipu later on, not Kadu. So Diti, Kashyapa Muni had already told Diti, we also saw that in previous chapters, that your son's going to be, they're going to be great demons and they're going to cause havoc to Devatas. So she was afraid. Therefore, she held on to her pregnancy for almost good 100 years. And eventually, she gave birth to these two sons. And that description given in 17th chapter, how ferocious, how huge, how strong they were, what was their height, strength, etc. That is being described in the 17th chapter. And then it is mentioned that how Hiranyaksha, to fulfill the desire of Hiranyakashipu to rule over all the three worlds, went around challenging different hosts of Devatas. And he ended up not finding anyone. He went to Indraloka, he didn't find Indraloka, they already had ran away. Accepting the will of the Lord that only Lord could handle, they ran away. I mean, running away is also at times is needed. It could be an art of it could be a kind of a foolishness to always stand in front of when you don't have the capacity. Then what? Then you go away, save your life, and then come back. Knowing that we cannot do anything against them, they're beyond our capacity. The eternal associates of the Lord, and only Lord can kill. Devatas took a recluse, they disappeared. And then Hiranyaksha, not finding anyone capable, saw the vast ocean. And he thought, okay, I've been wandering around for a long time. Let me swim for a while. And he dove into the ocean. Like we know the story of Kartavya Arjun with his 1,000 hands would change the flow of the river. Like that, he began to really cause havoc in the ocean. So much so, all the aquatic life, they got frightened and they went here and there. And finally, he realized, oh, let me go and catch Varuna. Maybe he's there in his kingdom. And then he went to the abode of Varuna. And then he met Varuna. And that all is just kind of 17th chapter. He fell at the feet of Varuna. Oh, Varuna, I'm here to beg you to fight with me. I'm here to beg you to fight with me. And like that, he challenged Varuna. And he said, oh, you are the same person, right? Who at one upon a time, with the strength of your arms, had defeated the great armies of the demons. So now today I challenge you, not challenge, I beg you, fight with me, like that. And Varuna also being a Devta, knowing who is he beyond his capacity, Varuna said, diplomacy is also needed. Bhagavatam teaches everything. Varuna said, well, yeah, you are right, what you're saying about me, but what to do? I have become old. So I've given on fighting now. So I don't think so, I'm fit for you being old, you're young, but I can recommend you to fight with someone. Go and fight with Vishnu. He'll be a good match for you. And he'll crush your arrogance to dust. And like that, Hiranyaksha being challenged by Varuna went in search of Vishnu. And that's how the 17th chapter ends. And then begins the 18th chapter. These are small chapters, not much purpose. I'm giving you a storyline. If in case we didn't get into the purpose, at least you know what are the chapters about. But we'll come to some purpose. And then 18th chapter begins with Hiranyaksha meeting with Narad Muni, getting to know where he can find Lord Vishnu. In the meantime, Lord Vara has appeared from the nostril of Brahma, and earth, which has been submerged. Lord Varahadev as a boar incarnation goes and retrieve planet Earth, and he's bringing planet Earth out of the ocean on his tusk, and from opposite side comes Hiranyaksha. Hey, where are you going? This is my property. And if you're going to take my property, I'm going to punish you. And then Hiranyaksha, he began to laugh. Ha, ha, ha. You are Vishnu? Suvar kahin ke? I mean, it was a boar incarnation, right? So that's what he said. Hey, you pig. What is this? You are Vishnu? Like this? You are no match to my strength. And very interesting thing, one of the key subject matter of 18th chapter which comes is Hiranyaksha criticized. I mean, when you're envious of somebody, what do? You don't do glorify. And he began to criticize. He began to laugh at Varahadev. And it is mentioned categorically, Varahadev felt offended. Pura kyo bol rahe? Varahadev felt offended. Why are you saying bad to me? I mean, just saying, sometimes we feel offended. Why are you saying criticizing? So Varahadev felt offended. And Prabhupada writes, Mayavadis cannot understand this. How Lord can feel bad when being criticized. Lord also likes being praised. When devotee praises Lord, Lord is happy. And when somebody criticizes, Lord also feels sadness. And that is a proof. Lord is also a sentient being like we are. But there's a difference between us and him like that. But that's subject matter which is mentioned in the 18th chapter. And then the fight begins between Hiranyaksha and Varahadev. And they're having a fight with a club. And that whole description. I mean, when I was reading it yesterday, I was feeling like I'm watching an action movie. It's like, what is that? Avengers. There was some Avengers series recently, where there was a big, I don't know the names of it. Recently there was one very big, famous hit movie that Avengers series had. I read about it, and there was this guy who was huge, well built, and about their strength, it is mentioned their body was like a steel frame. Nothing can happen. So in that there was this character. So I was just remembering that character. This would have been like Hiranyaksha, well built. How much have you tried to hit him? Nothing happens to him. And they begin to fight, and the fight goes on for a good amount of time. All the host of Devta comes. They're looking at the fight, and because Brahmaji again, Nimitta, that's my subject for today, understanding the will of the Lord. And Brahmaji says to the Lord, the right muhurta to kill Hiranyaksha has gone long, long ago. 12 o'clock in the afternoon was the right muhurta to kill Hiranyaksha. Now it is becoming dark. Please kill him sooner. We are getting afraid. Although we know you're the Supreme Lord, no doubt about it. But we're getting afraid because this demon would get a lot of powers. Please kill him. And all the devas are praying, please Lord, kill him like this. In the meantime, Lord said, okay. And Hiranyaksha came with swinging his club and smashed the club of the Lord. And Lord's club went flying. Zoom. And Lord is without the weapon. And all the devas are like, Arey, apne Prabhu to gaye. Oh, he got अरे तो कोई चांस ही नहीं है अब जो आते वाले हथियार ही नहीं तो क्या करोगे करके like this. And then Hiranyaksha did not attack. Very interesting. He followed the codes of conduct. He did not attack. He said, no, get your weapon. And that's the time Lord gets Sudarshan Chakra. And then again the fight goes on like this. And the Lord, there's a good amount of fight. And then finally when all the weapons of Hiranyaksha were destroyed by Sudarshan Chakra, and then Hiranyaksha, because that has become dark by now, he begins to use his mystic powers and he creates all those, magical shows, feats, all that. And Brahma is saying, Lord, Lord, please, enough entertainment, please kill him, please kill him. He's really begging, oh, please kill him, And why is he begging? Because he was the one who was responsible for all this. He's the one who blessed Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. And he was a representative of the Devta. They were poking him from behind. तूने वरदान दिया था ना? माफी मांग? माफी मांग? So, he was standing around, Lord, please, please, I understand it was my mistake. I shouldn't have given these blessings, whatnot, but please kill him. Don't extend it. And finally, when Hiranyaksha was without weapons, then he came to fist fighting. And was trying to hit punch the chest of the Lord, this and that. And finally, Lord was enjoying the whole game. Ultimately, this was because Lord wanted to wear us. It is mentioned because of the attacks of demon, even Lord's body was losing blood. And similarly, because of attack by the Lord weapons, Hiranyaksha body was losing blood. And finally, when that Lord was satisfied with fighting, and when Hiranyaksha came to give another punch to the Lord dodged. You seen WWE fighting? Worldwide Federation or something they call it. You see that, person dodged. Lord dodged, move around, and कान के नीचे एक झापा मारा बस. Lord moved around, dodged, and gave a slap underneath his ear. ऐसा झापा मारा, he died on the spot. Who else got jhapa from the Lord? Whom did Lord kill also with a slap only? Kamsa. Lord slapped him also. So like that, the story ends over there. And then all the devtas who are behind, now they come forward. Prabhu, aap kitne mahan hai? You are the best of all. And then the glories goes on. This is the 19th chapter. This is how the 19th chapter ends. All right, so let's begin our discussion. Quick. We're not going to go through all the verses, but I'll just discuss a few verses in the beginning and then focus on one of the main subject. Text number 1, chapter number 17, Maitrevacha Nishamyatma Bhavagitam Karanam Shankayojitaha Tatas Sarve Anyavartanta Tridivaya Divaukashaha. Sri Maitreya said, the demigods, the inhabitants of the higher planets were freed from all fear upon hearing the cause of darkness, explained by Brahma, who was born from Vishnu. Thus they all returned to the respective planets. Text number 2. Ditistu Bhartu Adesha Apatya Parishankini Punyavasha Shate Sadhi Putra Prashushave Yamo. The virtuous lady Diti had been very apprehensive of trouble to the gods from the children of womb, and her husband predicted the same. She brought forth twin sons after a full 100 years of pregnancy. A little background has been given. Text number 3. Utpatha bhavastatra nibito jayamanayo divi bhuvi antarikshecha lokasyoru bhayavaha. On the birth of the two demons, there were many natural disturbances, all very fearful, wonderful, in the heavenly planets, the earthly planets, and in between them. So now from verse number 3 to verse number 15, there's a description of disturbances, external symptoms which indicate something about what is going to happen. I'll read few of this and then we'll talk a little bit about what is the science. I'll read the translation now only. Text number 4. There were earthquakes along the mountains on the earth, and it appeared that there was fire everywhere. Many inauspicious planets like Saturn appeared, along with comets, meteors, and thunderbolts. But when natural disturbances occur on a planet, this is a very important subject, one should understand that a demon must have taken birth there. In the present age, the number of demonic people is increasing. Therefore, natural disturbances are also increasing. There is no doubt about this, as we can understand from the statements of the Bhagavatam. Text number 5. There blew winds which were most uninviting to the touch, hissing again and again and uprooting gigantic trees. They had storm for their armies and clouds of dust for their ensigns. Puppet again. When there are natural disturbances like blowing cyclones, too much heat or snowfall, and uprooting of trees by hurricanes. It is to be understood that the demonic population is increasing. And so the natural disturbance is also taking place. There are many countries on the globe, even at the present moment, where all these disturbances are current. This is true all over the world. There is insufficient sunshine, and there are always clouds in the sky, snowfall, and severe cold. These assure that such places are inhabited by demonic people who are accustomed to all kinds of forbidden and sinful activity. So, all of us would have read this, all of us would have read about the similar bad omens described in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in 14th chapter, where Yudhishthira Maharaj is observing various bad omens. So, my question to all of you is, what does it mean? How Srila Prabhupada is making this point that when there are certain situations, natural disturbances, it is an indication of demonic population increasing. What does it mean? I mean, was it saying like that? Have you ever heard from your parents? I grew up, my mother telling me, if you see a meteor crashing, it means two things. Either a very great soul have departed, or if you see a sky of, meteors crashing, then it will be, some demonic people taken birth. I categorically remember I was in Kannauj. I maybe in probably first grade. Maybe first grade old means how old? 6, 7 years? I categorically remember we were on the roof of the house, and that evening there was a lot of howling sound were coming. So I asked my mother, "Oh, what happened? Why, there's a lot of howling sound, crying sound?" So mother said, Kannauj is a very, what do you say? In one way, it was one of the in one point of time in the history, it was a capital. It was a big, big place. Later on, the Muslims was looted and all that. So she told me today, some time ago, a very great saintly person have departed, because of which the most part of the town is mourning. I remember categorically, and that particular night, I saw so many meteors crashing. And I asked my mother, look at that. Have you ever seen that? So my mother said, oh, yeah. Oh, you say, your mother said, oh, this. So this is an indication, actually, a very great soul have departed. And then she told me, if there is multiple meteors crashing, then it means demonic person is taking birth, vice versa like this. So I never questioned my mother from where she learned this. Now I'm here to ask this. Prabhupada is saying this. The demonic population is increasing. First canto we saw that. Yudhishthira Maharaj talking about bad omens. What does it mean? So let me bring you to a subject. Let me have a presentation here. I just put few things here. I am not going to go into too much details, but just to begin with. My presentation is visible? Fine. हरे कृष्ण. क्या हुआ? तुम लोगों ने बहुत तारे टूटते हुए देखे? गुपचुप शुरू हो गई. निमित्त क्या? You're asking what is material? अच्छा. This stream of knowledge in our Vedic sciences called as nimitta gyan. Lord Shri Krishna. Okay, I'll come to Lord Shri Krishna later on. Let me just give a little introduction to it, then I'll come to Lord Shri Krishna here. What is nimitta? Gyan means knowledge. What is nimitta? Nimitta in Sanskrit means causes. Observing the causes to understand what's going to happen. In other words, nimitta gyan is a stream of science in Vedic sciences which allows us to foretell what's going to happen. So it is according to many scholars, Jyotish Shastra is part of nimitta gyan. Whereas in the recent times, the recent scholars believe nimitta gyan is a subset of Jyotish Shastra, like that. So nimitta gyan allows us, it has 3 goals. This knowledge has 3 goals. First is to help us understand the existence of the Supreme Lord. Nothing is happening by itself. There is a cause, ultimate cause. Second thing, it allows us understanding, that is Sambandha Gyan, understanding that there is a cause, ultimate cause. The second objective of Nimitta Gyan, this field of study, is to help us re-establish our relationship by giving us that faith. And the third objective, the pariyojana of Nimitta Gyan is not love of Godhead. Pariyojana of Nimitta Gyan is called as Paraloka Sadhana Karma. Paraloka Sadhana Karma is to be able to understand, by observing certain things, one should be able to understand that his time of death is approaching near. And so that he should now start preparing for death. For Antakale cha mameva smaramukta kaleva. To prepare for the death is the objective with a goal. So you go and attain lotus feet of the Lord. That's the idea of this Nimitta Gyan. However, despite nature, how many of you heard if there is a flickering in your eye, trembling in your left hand, inauspicious thing going to happen? How many of you heard this? Right? Most of us have heard this. But living in our ultra-modern life, driven by passion and ignorance, we just don't realize it. We just don't pay attention to it. Let's begin with CC. By the way, I've quoted His Grace Bharat Chandra Prabhu. He did a very extensive research and he compiled a book called as Nimitta Jnana. This is part of the Varnashram College course, which is taught to students in ISKCON, those who join that college. Nonetheless, let's take a look. So this is his work, which I'm presenting here briefly. Yeah. So this is beginning with CC. We are so much caught up thinking that bad, good is all because of what I do and all that. So in CC it is mentioned, Daite Bhadra Bhadragyan Shaba Manodharma Ei Bhala Ei Manda Ei Sabha Brahma Daite Bhadra Bhadragyan Shaba Manodharma Ei Bhala Ei Manda Ei Sabha Brahma. Though it means two. What do you call Bhadra? Abhadra. Abhadra is auspicious. Abhadra is an auspicious, Bhadra auspicious. Ye auspicious, this is an auspicious, this is manodharma, this is mental speculation. In the material world, conception good and bad are all mental speculation. Therefore, saying this is good and this is bad is all our mistake. Srila Prabhupada writes to Prabhupada. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is absolute truth, ever existing with different varieties of energies. When one is absorbed in the illusory energy of Krishna, one cannot understand Krishna. One cannot ascertain what is good for him and what is bad for him. Let's pause for a second here. Do you remember any example from our history where certain things were foretold, observing the nimitta, the causes occurring, and yet the person was not able to realize it? What Duryodhana? So Vidurji told Dhritarashtra, I can observe bad omens occurring everywhere, which means your eldest son, which is about to take birth, is going to be the cause of destruction. Just disown him. But Dhritarashtra did not hear. That's the point here. Those who are covered, absorbed in the illusory energy of Krishna, cannot understand Krishna means cannot understand his energies, how it functions. Conceptions of good and bad are all imaginations or mental speculation. When one forgets that he is an eternal servant, he wants to enjoy the material world through different plans. At that time, he distinguishes between material plans that are good and those that are bad. Actually, both are false. So just to again do a quick recap, what we are discussing here, Brahmaji told Devtas, my dear sons, you cannot do anything against it. Just surrender. You just have to accept the fact that you have to face the calamity. And I raised a question, for Arjuna to become Nimitta Matram, Krishna standing by his side, knowing the fact Krishna has already killed all of them, so there is no threat to my existence. It's very easy. But when it is unfavorable, then to accept the will of the Lord, is it easy? It's not easy. And that's the reason many of us becomes bewildered, confused, disheartened, faithless when untoward events or incidents occurs in one's life. Oh, how can Lord does like this? How can it happen to me? I'm a devotee. What did I do wrong like this? So no, surrender means in both the situation like this. Now this science of called as Nimitta Gyan was the subject matter which was taught in the Gurukuls to all the students. How many of you know there are 64 arts? That was the subject matter in Gurukul to be learnt. Among 64 arts, This was the 49th subject matter. Srila Prabhupada in Krishna book in the 45th chapter talks about this. Krishna and Balram learned how to speak and understand the languages of various countries. This is one of the knowledge, one of the art. Not only they learned the language of human beings, Krishna could speak in with animals and birds. Then they learned how to make carriages and airplanes from flowers. It is said in the Ramayana that after defeating Ravana, Ramchandra was carried from Lanka to Bharatvarsha on a plane of flowers called Pushparat. Now, this is the point. Pointer option. Krishna and Balram then learned the art of foretelling events by seeing signs. In a book called as Khanara Vachan, this is Prabhupada writing. Vachan means bolna. Khanara Vachan means spoken by Khanara. The various types of signs and omens are described. If when one is going out, one sees someone with a bucket full of water, that is a very good sign. But one sees someone with an empty bucket, it is not a good sign. If similarly one sees a cow being milked alongside his calves, it is a good sign. The result of understanding this sign is that one can foretell events, and Krishna and Balaram learned the signs. They also learned the art of composing, and all this thing is mentioned here. This is one of the 49th subject matter. So, in a Vedic sciences, every subject matter is given how to live our life in this world and how to accept what's going to happen. For example, okay, let me just talk about this. Who is this Khanara Vachana? So apparently, Khanara Prabhupada mentions in one of his talks, she was a lady, apparently from Bengal only. Long, long ago in the history, she was the daughter of one very great astrologer. There were great 9 rishis serving a king or were the council of the king, and one of those 9 rishis, one was very great astrologer, and she was a daughter of that astrologer. And she learned the art of Jyotish Shastra Nimitta Gyan from that astrologer. And to help people understand, she compiled that whole knowledge in a Bengali language. Khanara Vachan, that is what is called like this. And about this subject matter, therefore Prabhupada is saying, all these incidents are indicating towards appearance of demonic species of life, because it is mentioned. Prabhupada writes many places. Let's take another place where Prabhupada talks about this Nimitta Gyan. He gives an indication what it means. Material existence is full of undesirables. Things we do not want are forced upon us by some superior energy. And we do not see that these undesirables are under the grip of the 3 modes of material nature. Prabhupada writes, when a man's left eye, arm, and thigh all quiver constantly, one must know that something is going to happen which is undesirable. These undesirables are compared to fire in a forest. No one goes into the forest to set fires, but fire automatically takes place in the forest, creating inconceivable calamities for the living beings of the forest. Such a fire cannot be extinguished by any human efforts. The fire can be extinguished only by the mercy of the Lord, who sends clouds to pour water on the forest. Which means when calamity is ordained, it's not that we don't do anything to protect ourselves. We do that. But ultimately, that also be taken care by the Lord only. Therefore, Krishna, right in the beginning, Bhagavatam says, Matas Pashasu Kantaya Shitoshna Sugataka, which means to see in the hand of the Lord and to take shelter of the Lord in both the situations. The fire can be extinguished only by the mercy of the Lord. Just last evening, I was watching a video. More than 300,000 acres of land was burnt through forest fire in California last year. I saw the video. I wanted to download to show you. It was such a frightening video. And the video was about a man driving a car, and there is fire everywhere. And he has a dashboard camera. It really looked like a hell. I'll see if I have it somewhere. I didn't download it because it was a couple of things together about calamity. So there, one of those slides was there. Watching calamitical videos is not my passing. It was about certain subject. So it was about certain, what was that the content of the videos? Unpredictable events, something like that. Paranormal activities. So I was just checking out that. So there it was mentioned. Oh man. And this is a forest. You have a road. So there's a forest up here, there's a forest below. Everywhere there is fire. And this guy drives his car, goes inside, and eventually the road is also burning ahead. Is a fire. So he didn't know anything what to do. Now you can't go further. And you see the flames coming like zzz, zzz. Fantastic. It's not a Hollywood movie, huh? It's a real movie, a real video shot of the situation happening. Anyways, the fire can. The one reason I share this, they tried their best to extinguish the fire, but they just couldn't do it. Ultimately, it got extinguished on its own. That's the point. The fire can be extinguished only by the mercy of the Lord, who sends clouds to pour water on the forest. Similarly, undesirable happenings in life cannot be checked by any number of plans. Such miseries can be removed only by the mercy, only mercy of the Lord. The point is, how many of you agree? I mean, as a devotees, we are far better today. But how many of you agree? In general, people are always, everyone is working hard just to solve one problem after another problem. Please raise your hand. How many of you agree? And everyone is thinking, just through my effort, through my ability, I'll be able to solve this problem, that problem, and then another problem. And in the course of solving this problem, that problem, they keep on creating a number of problems. Yes or no? And what I'm saying here, such miseries cannot be checked, can be checked only by the mercy of the Lord. So what's the idea here of the subject matter of Nimitta Gyan is just like the Devtas, they knew that they just cannot counteract Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu. What need to be done? Take shelter. Take shelter of the Lord. There is no point trying to revolt against the plan of the Lord. What will happen if you try to do it? We're just going to cause trouble to oneself. That's the point. Who sends his bona fide representative to enlighten human beings and thus save them from all calamities like this. And this subject matter, Nimitta Gyan, you will not believe, even has been mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. First chapter, even Arjuna himself talks about it, and he says, Nacha shaknomi avasthatum brahmatva cha me manah nimittani cha pashyami vipratani keshava nimittani cha pashyami. I see the causes. Vipratani keshava, unfavorable causes. And he writes, the translation. I gave the word to word, but translation. I am now unable to stand here any longer. I am forgetting myself and my mind is reeling. I foresee only evil. O killer of the Keshi demon. Nimittani chapashyami. What is he? He's seeing bad omens at the beginning of the war. Yes or no? That is what he's describing. And I see this is all going to lead to destruction. And then 11th chapter, what does Krishna ask Arjuna? Nimitta matram babasavasaji. Arjuna, you can, even if you decide not to fight, do you think it's not going to happen? Even if you decide you're not going to fight, do you think it's not going to happen? Destruction is going to happen because that's my will. Everyone is going to die. What do you do? Nimitta matra bhavasavasaji. Become an instrument. Don't try to walk away from here. The idea of walking away doesn't exist. And how do we understand this subject matter in our life? Therefore, Prabhu writes, through the bona fide representative. So when we are faced with casualty or something, calamity in our life, then we take shelter of superiors, higher authorities, and try to see the hand of the Lord and accept, not revolt. So therefore, devotees don't revolt. A question was asked to Prabhupada, Swamiji, how can devotees like Hanuman and Arjuna fight? How can devotees perform violence? So Prabhupada said, yes, devotees never perform violence for their sake. But if they're instructed by Lord, for Lord's sake, they will do it. So that's what the simple definition Prabhupada said of devotee is. He just accepts what it comes, the good or bad. He doesn't try to revolt. He remembers. And that's the whole idea of Nimitta Jnana. And that's how, going back to this verses now in the series, and that is what is being described here about the subject on from 3 to 15. All those symptoms are being described. Text number 6, the luminaries in the heavens were screened by massive clouds in which lightning sometimes flashed as though laughing. Darkness reigned everywhere, nothing could be seen. So you can read it at leisure about it. So another thing that gets highlighted over here is our Vedic science was thorough. They'll teach you about everything that you need to know to live in this world in cooperation and collaboration with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, like this. That's the subject matter here. Let's moving forward. Let me give a little series of verses here. This is a synopsis of this chapter. So in auspicious omens after the birth of twin brothers, 15 to 19, the brothers grew up. There is one verse about, text number 18. There's another very interesting scripture, Prabhupada course, called by the name of Pinda Siddhi. I'm reading the purport of text number 18. There is an authoritative Vedic literature called as Pinda Siddhi, in which the scientific understanding of pregnancy is very nicely described. And Prabhupada talks about, how twins are born, that whole subject matter. So that's about medical science. I don't need to get into it. So that's the subject matter of this conversation between Varuna and Hiranyaksha. I have already explained. Let's move forward. What's ahead? Take us into the battle between Lord Boar and the demon Hiranyaksha. So what's the synopsis of the 38 verses in this chapter? This is a nice pastime. I didn't narrate it as a pastime because I wanted to a little bit speak about Nimitta Gyan here, but you can read out as a wonderful chapters to read. So here it begins with the demon criticizing Varahadev, and Varahadev becomes a little sad. Hey, why are you criticizing me? Why you have to say like this? And Prabhupada writes purpose how the goals of demon is only to destroy the Supreme Personality of God. Text number 6. That's the text which mentioned. Chapter number 18, translation. Although the Lord was pained by the shaft-like abusive virtues of the demon, he bore the pain, tolerated. Perceiving that the earth on the ends of its tusk was frightened, he rose out of the water, just as an elephant emerges with his female companion when assailed by an alligator. And then Prabhupada writes in the purport, the Mayavadi philosophers cannot understand the Lord has feelings. The Lord is satisfied if someone offers him a nice prayer. Similarly, if someone decrees his existence and calls him by ill names, God is dissatisfied. And the fight resumes from verse number 19 to verse number 13 to 19. And then Brahmaji prays to Varahadev, please, my dear Lord, kill him quickly. Don't delay, because it's about to happen night soon. He'll become more powerful. And chapter number 19, it also has around 38 verses, which talks about killing of the demon Hiranyaksha. Are we showing this presentation? Are we showing presentation? Yeah, I'm showing all the presentation. We're not showing presentation here? No, we're reading verses. No, I'm showing presentation. I'm not reading verses right now. The killing of demon Hiranyaksha. So verse number 1 to 9 talks about the Hiranyaksha and Varahadev fight and the conclusion of it, how he was slapped and killed. And then after killing Hiranyaksha, Lord returns and the Devtas glorify. Glories the Lord activities. And finally, in the last 2 verses, there's a Falashruti of Varahadev's pastime. So what we'll do here, just to conclude the subject matter, we'll read from 31st verse, where the Devtas began to glorify, because I didn't spoke about that. Okay? So text number 31 of chapter 19. Sri Maitreya continued, after thus killing the most formidable demon Hiranyaksha, the Supreme Lord Hari, the origin of the boar species, returned to his own abode, where there is always uninterrupted festival. The Lord was praised by all the demigods, headed by Brahma. Maitreya continued, my dear Vidur, I have explained to you the personality of Godhead's coming down as the first boar incarnation, killing in a great fight a demon of unprecedented prowess, as if he were just a plaything. This has been narrated by me, as I heard it from my predecessor, spiritual master. Text number 33. Sri Sutta Goswami continued, my dear Brahmanas, Shata Vidura, the great devotee of the Lord, achieved transcendental bliss by hearing the narration of the pastime of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the authoritative source of the sage Maitreya, and he was very, very pleased. Text number 34. What to speak of hearing the pastime of the Lord, whose chest is marked with Sri Vassa? People may take transcendental pleasure even in hearing of the works and deeds of the devotees whose fame is immortal, like Prahlad, Dhruv, Amrish Maharaj, etc. Text number 35. The personality of God had delivered the king of the elephants who was attacked by an alligator. Who was that? Gajendra. And who meditated upon the lotus feet of the Lord. At that time, the female elephants who accompanied him were crying, and the Lord saved them from the impending danger. What grateful soul is there who would not render his loving service to such a great master as the personality of Godhead? The Lord can be easily pleased by spotless devotees who resort exclusively to him for protection, though the unrighteous man finds it difficult to propitiate him or invoke him like that. In other words, this talks about being grateful at all times. Text number 37. O Brahmanas, anyone who hears, Falashruti, who hears, chants, or takes pleasure in the wonderful narration of the killing of the Hiranyaksha demon by the Lord, who appeared as the first boar in order to deliver the world, is at once relieved of the results of sinful activities, even the killing of a Brahmana. And Prabhupada makes a very important point. Associating with the Lord or hearing about the Lord is one and same. So, with the degree of faith, we hear about the Lord. With the same degree of faith, we'll associate with the Lord. If while hearing the Lord about the glories of the Lord, we have doubts, while associating with Him, also will have doubts about the Lord. So, hearing and associating with the Lord is one and same. Text number 38, the last verse of the series. This most sacred narrative confers extraordinary merit, wealth, fame, longevity, and all the objects of one's desire. On the field of battle, it promotes the strength of one's vital organs and organs of action. One who listens to it at the last moment of his life is transferred to the supreme abode of the Lord. Oh dear Shaunaka. It's a question for you to thought about, a homework question. Bhagavatam is said to be Amala Puran, which teaches about only pure bhakti. Then why there is material profit is being given as a falashruti, right? Extraordinary merit, wealth, fame, longevity, and all the objects of one's desire will be fulfilled. Does it look like a karma falashruti? Why would Bhagavatam do that? It's something for you to find it out. Reading the last puppet. Devotees are generally attracted by the narratives of the pastimes of the Lord, and even though they do not prosecute austerities or meditation, this very process of hearing attentively about the pastimes of the Lord will endow them with innumerable benefits, such as wealth, fame, longevity, and other desirable aims of life. If one continues to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, which is full of narratives of the pastimes of the Lord, at the end of his life, one is sure to be transferred back home, back to God. Thus, hearers are benefited as long as benefited. Thus, hearers are benefited both ultimately. So they get to enjoy a good life, and then at the end of life, they go back home, back to Godhead. The beginning of devotional service is to spare time and listen to Srimad Bhagavatam from the right source. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended 5 items, namely to serve the devotees, to chant, to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, to worship the deities, and to live in a place of pilgrimage. Just performing these 5 activities can deliver one from the miserable condition of material life. Hare Krishna. With this, we come to the conclusion of this fascinating pastime. We started many chapters ago of Jay and Vijay becoming the 2 great demons, Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. And in today's subject matter, where we took a cue from the last session, where Brahmaji told Devtas, now you cannot do against this is the will of the Lord, to accept it and move forward. So we raised a question. It's easy to accept the favorable times, but how do we accept unfavorable situations to be the will of the Lord and still remain God conscious? And then we looked at some of the omas which are indicated during the time of the birth of the 2 sons. And Prabhupada very confidently writes, when such thing happens, it means certain symptoms indicate the birth of demonic race. So I talked about, hey, what basis Prabhupada is writing? How does Prabhupada know that this is an indication of? Of course, Srimad Bhagavatam verses are saying. So is there any way to understand that? That science is called as Nimitta Gyan. We don't know much about it. A little bit has been I shared. There are more in the book written by Prabhu, Bharat Chandra Prabhu, who has given more details to it. But it's not something we can really wholeheartedly, practice it or do it. The goal of this Nimitta Gyan, nonetheless, was not just to make your life secure. The idea of the Nimitta Gyan was largely to understand that there is a cause beyond us. And therefore, we read a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita where the people think, oh, this is what I do is going to result to bad action result. If this is what I do going to make into good result, this is all hallucination. Good and bad is all decided by the ultimate cause. This is manodharma, like that. So the goal of Nimitta Gyan was to understand there's an ultimate cause. Second goal, to reestablish our relationship with that. And third goal is, what is that? Paraloka karma. Sadhana karma, to be able to understand the time of death and to be able to take to the remembrance of the Lord, so that to go back home, back to God. That's the idea. And for that, I give you some references. from Srila Prabhupada's writings. And we all have heard of some of these things from our own parents, maybe from grandparents, like this. Our ignorance to these things today is just merely because we are too absorbed, thinking that we have the ability to counteract it. So, like that. And one of the texts which talks about many such omens was Kachara or something like that, Vachana, which is in Bengali, that has been translated. But it's okay. But these are the things which there. And the whole idea is when Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Nimitta Matam Bhavasya Visachi, it's just to help us to surrender at all times. Okay, this is a favorable situation. Let me continue. Even it is unfavorable, I need to surrender, move forward. Nothing is constant in this world. After some time, it will change. And therefore, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, right at the beginning, says, Mata Spashastu Kaunteya, Shitrishna Sukadukada, Agama Paina Nitya Tam Tatakshva, Bharataya Arjuna. Learn to tolerate. As a devotees also, we need to exercise tolerance. Things just doesn't go the way we want it. The Lord has His own way, the Lord has His own plan. And through this science, we can somewhat understand what is the plan of the Lord and try to cooperate with Lord's will. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So this was, I thought I'll just quickly sum up these 3 chapters. Now we'll begin with another set of discussion where soon we're going to have the Kardama Muni and Devhuti pastime begin. From here onwards is actually their story only. And the teachings of Kapila Dev. There's going to be a good amount of philosophy coming up soon. But some very interesting scientific subject matters also. So thank you all for joining in. We'll continue. We'll have around next week available. So we'll discuss next Friday also. Hare Krishna. Any questions? Yes, Adare Prabhu.
जैसे आपने बताया कि जब भी हमारे लाइफ में अनकंट्रोलेबल सिचुएशन हो we should consider seeing it. But on everyday life, there are something which go our way, there are something which doesn't go our way. So every time we can't go to seeing it.
So question is, when the things which we're not able to understand, we should consult higher authorities. Just like Devatas were not able to understand, they went to Brahma to understand what is happening. But Prabhuji, what to do? Our life is so terrible. Every day there is horrible things are happening. And every day we are confused. Why it is happening to me? So everyday confusion can be resolved by studying scriptures every day. Because scriptures also teaches us what is right, what is wrong. Like that. And if you're not able to understand the troubles that we are facing every day, it's just largely because of the lack of spiritual knowledge, how this world functions. And that's how it is resolved. And when and where we have an opportunity, we can clarify like this. And it's not the questions have not been asked, questions have not been answered. It has been. But to, everything that happens in our life, ऐसा क्यों हुआ हमें जब तक उत्तर नहीं पता चलेगा हम स्वीकारेंगे नहीं. No. As we are studying scriptures, as we are growing, as we are spending years, then we need to grow up also. We need to be able to see. From theoretical knowledge, we have to move to the practical, which means we have to transform that knowledge into wisdom to be able to see this is what is happening. Like that. So that's how we grow up things. And that's how we understand. One thing to counteract this thing is have a practice of everyday hearing and reading. That will itself an answer. How many of you experience that when you hear or read something, your question begins to get answered, which had been there in your mind for a while, isn't it? So what we need to do is bring in that practice on a regular basis, like that. Fine. So it's close to time now. We conclude here. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.